Hi, and welcome to the Love Learns podcast. My name is Dionne Zara, just your average girl wishing to learn more about love and relationships. As a young girl, I always dreamt about my wedding day, and to be fair, I still do sometimes. With many couples around me, I quickly came to realise love isn't as straightforward as the movies make out. So I thought I'd have conversations with couples who made it past happily ever after to learn more about love. And when I say love, I don't mean like the movies and fairy tales, but I mean LOVE, learning to be open, vulnerable, and empathetic. So if you're ready to learn, unlearn, and discover love through couples, you're in the right place. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Love Learns. This week we have Marlon and Jernine, who are going to give us a bit about their love story, how they met, all the obstacles and things they've had to overcome as a couple, and just give us more about who they are as a couple and as individuals as well. So, hi, Marlon. Hi, Jernine. How are you guys?
Hi, Dionne. Yeah, we're very well.
Yeah, hi, Dionne.
Good. Thank you for having us.
No, it's my pleasure. I absolutely can't wait to have this conversation with you guys and just get to know you guys a little bit more as a couple, and just share your wisdom, because I know I've learned a lot from you guys. So let's just start off with how you guys met.
I'm just thinking, you want to tell it or should I?
No, go for it.
So, Marlon and I have a mutual friend who was both of our best friends, and this is going back, I think, in 2000. And my friend brought him to the family barbecue. So my mum used to have these annual barbecues, and he brought him along. And I was actually in a relationship at the time, but we just, we got introduced, and I remember saying to my sister, "Oh, he's really handsome, but his trousers are so tight." But it wasn't, I just admired him kind of from afar. And what happened was, because of the mutual friend, we just kept going places and being at the same place at the same time. And yeah, I was in a relationship, and I just I thought he was really handsome or whatever, but I didn't really think anything more of it. And then I think what was the kind of turning point was the bagel shop.
Yeah. We went out one night, and we ended up at the bagel shop, didn't we?
Yeah. So
and everyone went inside, and we were left in the car.
Brick Lane bagel shop. Yeah. We just sat and we were just having like this conversation, and it was just like this, I don't know, banter, but he was being a little bit cheeky, but then I was kind of like, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not one of these girls or whatever. And on our way home from the bagel shop, the same friend, our mutual friend that introduced us, and another friend in the car had a fight, like while I was driving. And it was just ridiculous. Anyway, we had to pull over. One of them left the car, and I dropped my mobile in the car. But I'd already kind of said to my friend, "Oh, I think he's really nice," or whatever. So he had given me his phone number without kind of telling Marlon that he'd done so. So I didn't phone him. But then I was trying to phone my mobile in the car. Nobody answered. So I phoned him.
Conveniently.
And then
the master plan. That was a master
that
plan.
Wasn't a plan. It wasn't my plan. Maybe it was God's plan. But yeah, we just started speaking a little bit. And then, yeah, my relationship didn't really work out. And I can't remember how. We were speaking very, like every now and again on the phone. And then I think he asked me to go on a date. And the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And Marlon, how did you, were you attracted to Jernine from the very beginning when you met her at the barbecue, or was it just a growing attraction?
There was an initial attraction there, but I think where she was friend of my friend, and my friend was like, oh, you know, I this is like my little sister, and it was kind of a little bit of a warning. So I kind of was okay, that sort of thing. He said, oh, you know, you've got to treat her how you'd want your sister to be treated, and I think, way my sister's be treated. I don't want no one near my sister. So, so yeah, it was I guess a slow burner.
Okay. And when did you guys like know that actually this could work out? This could be something more than just us hanging out with friends.
You know what? I have to say, I was actually telling somebody this story the other day, and I can remember, I think we were just dating. And as I said, I'd just come out of quite a long relationship. So I wasn't really looking for a long-term relationship. I hadn't really dated anybody before. So I just wanted to see what it was like to just go on dates and just kind of get to know somebody. And I remember we were driving somewhere. We'd been on a few dates by then, and we were driving. I think we were going in the direct. It was on the A12, driving like towards Ilford, and I really, you know, I heard God say, if you don't do this, if you don't pursue this, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And he basically, the gist of it was, I had like my defense mechanism up a little bit because I didn't really want to let somebody in so soon. And he said to me one day, oh, you're so cold. And I thought, who, me? I'm not cold. I don't think anybody could ever describe me as being cold. But I realized I was obviously putting out something. And yeah, that's when I heard God say, if you don't do this, if you don't pursue this, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. So I just went with it. I went with, you know, the direction of where the relation, because it was, he knew what he wanted really quite, and he was like an all or nothing person. He's like, listen, I want to settle down. I want to, you know, and we were young. I was 20 and he was 22. So when we met, so this is quite young to, I don't know, it's not something you hear of young men being so sure about what they want in life. So that was quite nice as well. It was quite, I really liked that about him. So
Cool. And Marlon, how about you? What was when did it click for you that actually this could?
I think I'd say after the first date, I knew that yeah, there was just something different about her. We would go on dates. I liked being in her presence. I liked spending time. I mean, we'd spend so much time together. And yeah, it was just, as I say, it just felt, it felt different. It felt, as friends, we'd have this saying. It was like, oh yeah, you know, that one's marriage material. And yeah, and I put her down as marriage material kind of straight away. So you know, it's quite interesting how it took so long to actually get married. But we'll probably get onto that story.
this is quite nice because I don't think I've ever heard him answer these questions. I never knew he was attracted to me the first time he'd seen me, or that he felt like that after the first date.
Yeah, I did. You used to really annoy me.
We used to annoy each other.
But
We'd have these really petty arguments. Do you remember?
Yeah, there was although there was that attraction, and you know, I loved her ambition, and you know, I didn't have, at that age, I didn't have boxes. You know, I hear people, oh, she ticked all the boxes, but if I think about it now, looking back, she did subconsciously tick all the boxes. So yeah, from very early on,
Wow. So you guys dated. How long did you date for?
Sorry. I have to laugh. What do you mean before we we made
Before
it
you
official.
made it like official that you're boyfriend, girlfriend, how long were
Okay.
you guys dating for?
It was quite quick, you know.
Yeah.
I think it was about.
I made the announcement at the big
That's
family
what.
dinner, didn't I?
Right. Yes.
Oh, I want to hear this story.
We went on our first date in August. End of August. Right at the end of August of 2001. And then my mum had a birthday dinner in October. My mum's birthday's in October. So August, September, October. So 2 months. So we went to this dinner, and I'll let him tell the story of that one.
So it was at this dinner. It was all of Jay's family. It was her mum's birthday. So it's her brother, her brother's partner. It was who else was there?
My mum's friends.
Yeah, all of her
sister.
sister, all of her mum's friends, all around this massive table, and it was kind of a introduction type.
Yeah, it was quite intimate, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was an introduction of everyone around the table, because we was all there for Janine's mum, but everyone didn't know each other. So it was like, how do you know her? Da, 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 da. So it's going around everyone. I've known Anna Maria for 20 years. We've been friends for going all around this table, and I'm thinking, I've known her for like 2 months. So yeah, so it got to me, and I said, well, I'm Janine's new boyfriend, and everyone was like,
including me.
So her friends were there, her sister was there. We hadn't actually said that officially. So, and then our mutual friend was there as well, and he was like looking at me, looking at her, thinking, why hasn't anyone told me? Her brother's giving me looks across the table, and but yeah, so that was it. Introduction made.
And then that was the official. You guys were
yeah.
Awesome. And so how did you guys? So how long were you guys together before you got married? Let's start there.
We were together for 15 years.
Before you got married.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So how did you guys live? Like, how was the relationship in that space of time, in that 15 years?
Well, we had 3 children in that 15 years. We lived together. We were together for 7 years before we had our first daughter. And I would say that we were together we moved into the flat 2004. So about 3 years before we kind of lived together. And then, yeah, once I moved out, I bought a flat, and I moved in thinking, okay, I'm, on my own, and this is going to be great and whatever.
She didn't think that at all.
No, I did. Marlon had his own properties that he didn't live in. He was like, still living with his mum. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to have all these girly things and all of this stuff. And I gave him a key, so that he could come and go and whatever as he pleased. But literally, he came, I think I moved in, I don't even know, when it, like, say, in August, and by 2 weeks later, Marlon was there, and he never went back home, really. And the rest is...
Cool. And what kind of, okay, so you guys had your kids, well, 3 of your kids before you got married, isn't it? And then, okay, so how did you like navigate conflict in your relationship before you guys got married?
That it wasn't always great.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, how did we navigate conflict? Badly, I'd say at the beginning. A lot of petty arguments over silly things. I'd say a lack of communication.
Not talking to each other
For days on end. I have to admit that I'm very stubborn. So I'm really good at not talking for days and days and days. Whereas Jernine is, I'd say, probably a more effective communicator. She does it for her job, and it was, I want to talk about this now, and I would be like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I'm not one of your clients at work, and so yeah, it was very much, we have different arguing styles and how to resolution those. So yeah, it's taken years to find I guess a happy medium. And still it's still times where it rears its ugly head, the lack of equilibrium in our communication styles. But we've learned to more effectively communicate, and we know each other's triggers, and when to walk away and when to talk, and when to broach a subject that might be affecting each other. And yeah, years. I mean, it's been years in the making.
Cool. And I had one couple who used to say, like, there's two types of people, like a hedgehog and a rhino. One who, like, rhino, like, goes towards the problem, trying to solve the problem with full force. And the hedgehog who, like, hides and just, like, spikes. So if you come near them, it's like triggered and that kind of thing. So would you say, Marlon, you're the hedgehog?
Absolutely. 100%.
I love that analogy though. That's really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So how did you guys get to marriage then? How did we end up getting married after 15 years of being
pressure together? Absolute pressure.
Listen, I remember Marlon, one of the things that I loved about Marlon was that he's a man of his word. So if he says he's going to do something, he does it. And when we had the christening for our daughter, that was the first kind of event where both families kind of joined together and had a big celebration. And he gave a speech and basically announced, this is Jay, my soon-to-be wife. That christening was in 2008. So, when he said that, I was like, oh, you get excited and whatever. And then I had to wait another 8 years after that.
There was no timeline on that speech, babe.
Okay, yeah, but there was a long wait. But yeah, I'm not sure. There were times when I was like, oh my gosh, I'd speak about it and say, is it going to happen? And he'd always kind of say, it's going to happen, and it's got to be the right time, and da 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 da. But I think before he proposed, I think I've had 2 meltdowns about us not being married, or so I say 2 major meltdowns. The first was around my 30th birthday, because I was convinced he was going to do it then, and then it didn't happen, and I was really disappointed. And I think I remember having this argument with him, saying, "Oh yeah, I've got 2 kids, and I'm 30, and I'm, I've got my career, and this is the one thing that's missing, and la 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 la." And then just before, so we got engaged. Was it 2015? Yes, 2015 we got engaged on my birthday. But the weekend before he did it, I had like a little cry to some friends at work saying, like, I don't know, I think that like it must be something wrong with me. If after all this time you don't know that you want to marry someone, maybe he just doesn't want to marry me. And I just really personalized it and just had a big moan about it. And that was on the Thursday. And then I think he proposed like on the Saturday. And it was just like, oh my. So when I went into work on the Monday, it was like, guess what happened after I cried about all of this, you know? So yeah. Yes, it was a long time waiting. But you know what? When I look back, I really believe that had we had got married early on into our relationship, we might not be where we are now, as strong as we are and as happy and just, yeah, knowing each other in the way that we do.
And Marlon, for you, in that 8 years, what was going through your head? What was going through your mind?
It was that, you know, we had children together, we had mortgages, we just had this life as a married couple, as a family. And I at that time, I didn't see any difference. There was no, I just couldn't see what marriage would do to enhance our relationship, us as a family. I don't think any man really wants to get married. I don't think it's, you know, we're not in the playground saying, oh, I can't wait to be groom and you know, those kind of things. Whereas a woman dreams of her wedding day, of her wedding dress, of the ceremony, of the whole thing, the car and the whole nine. So at that time, I didn't really see, I guess, any benefit of getting married. It's not until my faith, my walk with God, you know, that was enhanced, and then it became the thing that I really wanted to do.
Oh, okay. And what brought that change in your faith?
Just increased faith.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. And for you, Jernine, in that waiting period, was like, obviously you had those 2 meltdowns, but was there anything else where you felt like maybe actually it's fine the way it is, like I'm content in this space? No.
Never. No. No. You know what? Since I was probably about 16, when I had my first ever boyfriend, I had always had that intention to date with purpose, to be with somebody to lead towards marriage. So, you know, my previous relationship, he always said he didn't want to get married, and that was something that made me say, well, this is not going to work for me, this relationship, because I know that I want to be married. So if you are not, that's not on the cards for you, then, you know, we need to go in separate directions. So yeah, I've always known that I wanted to be married. So yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if I asked the question very
Yeah, no,
well.
you did. And before you guys got married, did you have any expectations on what marriage would bring to the relationship?
So I didn't have any expectations at all. I just thought, as I said before, that we are living together. We've got 3 beautiful children together. So I just think, you know, it's a ceremony. Nothing's going to change. There was obviously for at that time there was I wanted to make it right in the eyes of God. But I mean more so in the practicalities of wedding, of marriage. I didn't feel like anything was was going to change in, I guess, our day-to-day living.
What about for you, Jernine?
I think for me, I had quite a high expectation. It's something that I really place a lot of emphasis and value on marriage. For me, one of the things was always, I've been going to church like, I don't even know how long, a very long time. And just to be able to have that God's God's approval and God's, agreement and covenant was really important to me. My expectation, I think, has probably been a little bit unrealistic because I actually haven't got, my parents are not together anymore. And I didn't really have a tangible example of marriage, like every day. I've got like, my grandparents, and I've got an auntie and uncle that, I've grown up with. But to see the everyday living of marriage, I haven't had one. I hadn't had that example. So for that reason, I feel like it was unrealistic because, I haven't seen what it's like for two people to kind of do that, live together, have the conflict, the resolution. Maybe that's why our conflict resolution skills or things that we were doing weren't effective, because maybe we haven't seen that work properly. But it has definitely exceeded my expectations, marriage has. There's a feeling of security, and it's very difficult to describe it, but I love the feeling. And it felt different, even though we'd been together for 15 years. After we got married, it felt different. Our relationship felt different.
Marlon, did you have the same feeling after you got married?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's funny because I came into it with no expectation, and then after marriage, I think I said it in the book, I just felt like Superman. I feel like I still do. I still feel like I can do anything. I just feel that I've always been, confident in doing things and what have you. But now I just feel like the world is my oyster, and I feel like there's nothing I can't do. I've got my soulmate, my partner there, and she's always encouraging, and not that she wasn't before, but it's actually hard to explain. It's just there's this feeling that that just it's just this bulletproof type feeling that that is just, it's just amazing. It's amazing. And before, we speak to young couples. We got our little brother and sister that got married a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I was telling him, like, get ready. You're gonna hear some good stuff, like, but no, it's amazing for someone, as I say, for someone who didn't really expect anything to change. It's just it's great. I'm a big advocate now. I'm now that person that goes around and why haven't you got married and you've been together for this? I'm not really. I'm not.
Because you didn't like when people did that to you.
I really didn't.
Oh, cool. So, like, what advice would you give someone who is like waiting to get married at this moment in time?
I think I'll start that, because I don't think you should wait to get married. I feel like, okay, anytime we're waiting for something means that it's a preparation period. So if you know that you want to be married, I would say to use the time to prepare yourself for marriage. And by that, I mean, it's about working on yourself. You need that time to, whatever it is, spend time with yourself, go on holiday, travel, see, learn to cook, learn to, just discover yourself, get to know yourself on a really intimate level, right? Because when you know yourself, then you'll be able to love yourself, and then that will be able to prepare you for whoever you're going to meet. I feel like there's a lot of people who believe that marriage is going to complete them. And if you're not a complete version of yourself, marriage definitely ain't going to help that. It could probably, it might be the opposite. So yeah, I would say use the time effectively and work on yourself, developing yourself, your skills, whatever it is. Just have fun as well. Live life, and do things that you for me, I think there's things, one of the things I would think I would do is try to like live in another country or something, if I had that time to do again. I think for me, I was always willing to go, I want to be near, I don't want to leave my family, I want to be near and whatever. But now I wish that I had, because now for me to make a decision to go and live in another country, it's not just my decision. I have to, consider my husband and my children. So yeah, just be fearless in that time as well. Do the things that really scare you.
Am I supposed to go after that? Yeah, what she said. No, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that question as such, to wait to be married. I don't know if I don't agree with that statement.
I think it's a bit of a feminine question. That's what I'm just getting, because I feel like women wait to get married, whereas men just live life, and then they get to a certain stage of their life that they realize that
I just think if you just live your life and enrich it with experiences and doing things that scare you, and I think that if you're doing all of the above, then you're bringing more life experience to a marriage, to a relationship initially. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one for me, because it doesn't really connect with me to be waiting to be married. So yeah.
Okay, so for you, I'll give you a different question then. Like, what advice would you give to a guy who is looking to get engaged but is a little bit hesitant?
Again, I think that's got a lot of variables. I mean, why are you hesitant?
Why was you hesitant?
Because I was hesitant before. See, me getting married was a lot to do with my relationship with God, and how it grew, and how then it was doing the right thing in the eyes of God. And then it was other things as well, that having a surname, my wife having the surname as my children, and all of those things, that as a secondary thing, and also just I think we was at a stage where we were a family, and I wanted it to be ordained, stamped in the book of life. And so I don't know, I would never give advice as such to somebody who says, oh, I don't know if to take that next step or not. I would give my perspective and how it's changed my life. But I think making that step is so personal that I don't think it should be an advice type answer. Yeah, because it's such a huge step, and it's something for life. I mean, we nowadays it's so easy that people get divorced and to get out of it, and it's, you know, we have this kind of microwave lifestyle whereby if I'm getting married, it's for life. There's no, you know, they talk about things like a prenup. I would never get a prenup because it's not going to be the case. So yeah, I don't think it should be advice. I would give my perspective, the advantages, you know, but it's got to be something that comes from deep within you, from your, you know, from your toes all the way through to your head. So yeah.
Cool. That's I think it's good advice, because I think even though it's not advice, a lot of people do have their own story, and if you're walking in your story, I think that's the best authentic part of you. And if you're doing it in that way, it makes it much more easier for you to know that you're doing this and not regret it later just because someone said you should do it. Like the people that were trying to push you to get married before you were ready to. So
and I think I remember that as well, and it's the worst thing to do to someone like me as well, to try and coerce me into something. I mean, I'm the sort of person, if 10 people go left, I'm the one person that's going to go right anyway. So you trying to advise me to, and then you'd get the divorced person, or that really unhappily married person trying to tell you to get married, and you're like, what? So I can do
I need
what
to
you
ask
do?
you who that was after we finish recording this.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So what do you guys think you've learned about yourself since you got married?
Wow, that's a good question. About each other or ourselves
Like
individually?
yourself as individuals, and then maybe you can do each other as well after.
I would say that what I've learned is that there was a lot of room for growth. There was a lot of room for self-analysis. There was a lot of room for just becoming more of a well-rounded person, but not just for me, for my wife, for my children, you know, as a uncle, a dad, you know, the whole lot. A lot of self-reflection and growth from, I would say, from the years that we've, from not being married to marriage. That would be mine.
You said that so articulately. I was going to say, what I've learned is that I had a whole lot of issues, which is what he's saying it. No, maybe not saying it, but for me, it highlighted the work that I didn't do in the time, the waiting or whatever, you know, that preparation period. There was stuff that I should have done before, but I did it afterwards. And I really am always really thankful for Marlon being so patient and so understanding when I've had to do that work afterwards. I've had to do a lot of work on myself. And I maybe because of the unrealistic expectations I had of marriage, that I was going to be, you know, healed and, you know, this whole person. But that journey to wholeness is about the work that you put into it. And Marlon's been really supportive of that. So for me, one of the things I would say is that counseling in that time of waiting or of preparation, I would really encourage before you get married. I did mine afterwards, but yeah, fortunately, it's still worked. But yeah, you don't want to. We always talk about being cycle breakers. And there's a lot of generational things and cycles and negativity. And for us, one of the cycles is divorce, because we've come from two families two parents that have been divorced, and that is not something that we want to break that cycle. So yeah, you've got to put the work in. You really have to put the work in. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And what would you say the work is? What work can people be doing before they get married and whilst they're married?
We are avid readers. We read books about a range of stuff. Marlon's probably like, if I was going to buy him a book, it would definitely be like an entrepreneurial journey, like an entrepreneur who's done this. He just read a book called Shoe Dog, and it's the story of the Nike owner. And he gets a lot from that, because that's what he's really passionate about, business and entrepreneurship. I would say that I read lots of different things. I do like reading books about relationships, and like the healing kind of journey. What else? One of the books that we always talk about and recommend to couples is the 5 love languages. I speak about this so highly. By Gary Coleman. That was like a game changer for us. We read that, we got that for a wedding present. And Marlon's cousin, I remember seeing on the wedding day and them saying, you need to read this book. And they wrote in the book. And it's like, I always say to people that it was the best wedding present that we received. We both read that book, and that having that desire to read it, to make different changes in our relationship. Yeah, that set the precedent, I think. So now, yeah, we read a lot. Marlon listens to a lot of YouTube. I listen to the things that we listen to are quite different, actually. Our interests are very different. But when we stumble upon something that really is like, wow, then we'll share it with each other. And that's how we kind of teach each other things. So, and I'm really open about my kind of counseling journey. Although I do it on my own, I feel like it has been a real something that's really helped our relationship, because I've learned some skills. I've learned so many things that have been applied in our relationship. So yeah, change, you got to be the change you want to see.
Yeah, you said a word there, teach. And I think that if we, as old as we are, I think we're all,
excuse me,
as I am, I think we must remain teachable.
Yes.
We're never going to have all the answers. If we just remain fluid and always want to be learning, and I think that really helps. The day you're set in your ways and this is me and this is my seat and just to be excited with life and with all the different things that it has, and yeah, just to really remain, a wise man doesn't know he's wise because he's always learning. So you just really remain teachable.
Very cool. I like that. I think teachable is very much something I'm learning, to just be open to learn from others, because anyone can be your teacher in any circumstance, kind of thing. So that's awesome. Yeah, you guys said quite a bit there, and I think that there is a lot in the preparation period, as just even if you're not waiting to get married, just to be you. You need to be teachable, you need to be open, you need to be like learning from others, like you guys said, but it's one of those things where we take it for granted sometimes, and kind of just like pretend that we know everything when we don't really know much. So if you had to like give one takeaway from your experience as a married couple, like before marriage or even after marriage, what one point in your marriage or your relationship have you felt like you could have done something different, or you could have you could have done something different, or you could have changed something in that moment?
What could we have done different?
I think mine would be, I know I've said that I'm the rhino, but earlier on in the relationship, I wasn't very good at communicating my feelings. So I used to kind of internalize things. And I think there were times when Marlon didn't know when I was struggling, or when when there was like a particular times of my life or during, it's like, especially with motherhood, and that transition to motherhood, and just being open and saying, you know what, I'm struggling, or I'm feeling really unconfident, or just not feeling myself, just being able to just come and be more open and honest. And we're in a place now where we've been together, this year's like 20 years, and I can say to him, I didn't like when you did that, or I'm feeling really down today. And I've never been very good at doing that. And now what that does is let him know, this is how I'm feeling. It's not about you, or but I'm struggling today. I'm in my feelings. Yeah. So I think, that's what I would do differently.
I'd actually agree with that, because I think a lot of our early problems were down to communication. I think we've touched on that, and we could have got across a lot more barriers.
Yes.
If our communication was better, and it would have been open to knowing that your style or my style isn't necessarily the style, and be open to each other. And it goes back to that communication, which they say communication is the key, and I really feel that is the case.
And how did you guys improve on your communication from the beginning to now?
And it's definitely been since I've had counselling. So I've been able to have that independent person that you can speak and say whatever, but then having the confidence. I think my thing was always overthinking what he was going to think if I said something, or if I think about when I had my daughter, and our first daughter, and I was really struggling. He always saw me as being this kind of like superwoman, and I never wanted him to think of me any differently. So when I was struggling, I didn't say, babe, I'm finding this really hard. And, had I done that, he might have been able to say, what can I do to support you better? Or, what about this? Or, I do remember there was a time when it was my first day back at work. Do you remember? I woke up at the crack of dawn, and I was just like busying myself, packing her food and doing all of this. And he was sitting in the bed, and then he said, maybe tomorrow you'll ask me to help you.
Wow.
Do you remember that? He don't remember. And I'm like, wow, that's so true. But sometimes I think it's because of the skills that we've acquired. So I always say being raised by an independent woman made me too independent. And in a relationship, you need to have a level of dependency. But if I'm going on like I can do everything on my own, then what's he there for? Do you know what I mean? So that's something that I've had to really work on as well, and relearn that it's a partnership, and that asking for help doesn't show that you're weak or that you're any less of a person and stuff. So yeah, being able to say, oh, you know what, can you help me do this, or those kind of things has really helped us.
Cool. And Marlon, what about you? What have you learned about communication? Like, what would you say was the takeaway?
I think for me, it's just time, growth, maturity, becoming more comfortable with, with your partner. I think those things help communication just over time. Now I know what she's going to be thinking. I know certain reactions, sometimes when not to bring something up and to bring it up at a different time when, maybe when the kids aren't about and it's all crazy. Because our house is mad. From it sounds all quiet now. We an hour ago it was like World War III. So yeah, it's picking your time. Time. If you choose to learn, then you will, because time leaves clues. So you get a better foresight into that person, of when to have a talk, or when to communicate. So I would just say for me it's the time element.
Awesome. I'm gonna start wrapping up just because of time. So if you guys, this is a question I ask all the couples that come onto the podcast, which is, what have you learned about being open, vulnerable, and empathetic since being married?
Not to let it matter that we're all vulnerable. And I think when you are married, there's a natural empathy for your wife. And I think we're both empathetic people anyway. So I think just to accept vulnerability, because it's a natural course of life. We're all vulnerable at some stage. And I think that we're able to be vulnerable in our space, in our home, especially I think more so as a man, because we're always taught to, have a stiff back and to take it on the chin and to not show a sense of vulnerability. I came from a Jamaican household, so you don't cry, and you're a man and it doesn't hurt. And we talk about toxic masculinity now, and we talk to our children, like my son, and I don't say to him, don't cry. I say, cry if it hurts. And but I think that again, I go back to time, and you with time comes trust.
Yes.
And when you trust that person, then it's not even vulnerability as such. It's you being you and being able to communicate how you're feeling, and that you are anxious about something, or you are nervous about something, and you're not always He-Man. And and I probably still wouldn't do that outside of my four walls, but when you're with your wife, then that's not the time for that. So yeah, it's being comfortable enough to be vulnerable and not see it as a weakness personally, because you know, I don't think you're a good wife would see it as a weakness. So let's be vulnerable. We can be vulnerable together.
You know what? It's hard to kind of, he said a lot of what I would say. And I was going to say that in order to be those things, open, vulnerable, what was the other one? And empathetic, you've got to, vulnerability takes trust. You've got to be able to trust that person. I wouldn't say, I know for me, and as I said, you know, probably being too open about having a lot of issues, but trust has always been an issue for me because of previous things that I've experienced during my childhood. So I would definitely say that the trust, especially the trust, became cemented when we got married. So I have become more open and more vulnerable since we've been married, because there was a stronger element of trust in him. I think I always, in those years, in the back of my mind, I always thought he was going to leave at some point. We'd have an argument and he'd go. And again, my issues of what I've experienced previously. But after we got married, I realized that this is it. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's here for me. He's here. And I was able to be more vulnerable and more open. But yeah, I just, I think being open and vulnerable is also about the knowing yourself and understanding yourself and having an awareness of yourself. And that's what I said about having that journey, having that work done prior to getting married, because once you know yourself, you don't care. You're authentic. You don't care who you're vulnerable. Like, I don't, you know, some people would never say, oh my gosh, I had counseling. Whereas I know me saying that I've done that and I'm being vulnerable and open about it enables somebody else to be able to do it, you know. But yeah, I definitely think we've grown as individuals. There's been a stronger development of self-awareness and self-love even, and that has allowed us to be more open and more vulnerable in our relationship. And the empathy has been there. It's something that, as you said before, it's something that we had from a long time ago.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Do you guys have anything that you want to promote or share with our viewers so that people can follow you, find out more about you?
Well, I'm on Instagram. I am Jernine Russell. What else?
She would like to promote her new book, The Naked Truth About Marriage.
Our book.
Is it our book?
You did contribute to the book, babe.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for my name on the
maybe the next one.
The next one, okay.
Or maybe the one that you're going to write.
Okay. But yeah, she would like to promote her book. It's out now. Where's it out? How can they get it?
It's on my website, which is www.she-reigns.com. And that's where it's available. Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Marlon? Do you have anything you want to share, promote? Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. It's been a pleasure having you guys on with all your like little nuggets of wisdom. Yeah, just thank you for coming on, and it's been an honor actually having you guys on and having this conversation.
Thank you for having us. It's been fun.